We're going to be turning to the Book of Mormon, to 3rd Nephi chapter 28.
All right.
To look at a group of people who were given some really, really unique blessings and responsibilities by Jesus Christ himself.
It's a passage that sparks a lot of discussion, in religious circles.
It really does.
Yeah.
So let's set the scene a little bit. This is after Jesus's resurrection.
Okay.
When he appeared to the Nephites over the Americas.
Right.
And he taught them, he healed them. And then right before he ascends into heaven, he has this really, really interesting exchange with his 12 disciples there.
And this kind of mirrors, what we see in the Bible, too, with the ascension.
Exactly.
Which adds another layer to it.
It does. So Jesus asks these 12 disciples what they want. And 9 of them basically say, we want to live out our lives serving you.
Right.
And then be with you in your kingdom.
Yeah, a pretty natural desire, you would think.
And Jesus blesses them.
Right.
He promises them rest in his kingdom.
After they reach a good old age.
After they reach the age of 72.
It's in verses 2 and 3 there of chapter 28.
Yes.
If you want to look it up.
But then things take a little bit of an unexpected turn.
Okay.
3 of the disciples hesitate. Like they're holding something back.
Okay.
And Jesus, knowing their hearts, recognizes what their desire is.
He knows.
And he even points out that it's the same desire that John the Beloved had.
We see that in verse 6.
Yeah, so, okay, talk about a cliffhanger.
Right.
What could this desire be that even these incredibly devoted disciples are hesitant to even express?
What is it?
Well, we don't have to wait too long because in verse 7, they reveal that their wish is to continue their ministry on the earth.
Wow.
Until Jesus comes again.
Until the second coming.
Meaning they would never die.
Now that's dedication.
It really is.
Talk about commitment.
And so Jesus grants them this extraordinary request.
He does.
But it comes with some pretty amazing blessings.
Some incredible blessings.
It does in verse 8 we read, "And you shall never endure the pains of death.
Okay.
But when I shall come in my glory, ye shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye.
Wow.
From mortality to immortality.
Okay.
And then shall you be blessed in the kingdom of my Father."
So they're not going to experience death or the suffering that comes with it.
Right.
And they're going to transition straight to immortality at the second coming.
Yes. And it goes beyond just the physical.
It does.
Verse 9 adds that they won't even experience pain while they're still alive.
Wow.
They will feel sorrow.
Okay.
But only for the sins of the world.
That's really interesting. It really shows their continuing empathy for humanity.
It does. It speaks to their ongoing connection with humanity and their mission to serve the Lord.
And verse 9 makes that purpose crystal clear.
It does.
"And all this will I do because of the thing which ye have desired of me. For ye have desired that ye might bring the souls of men unto me while the world shall stand."
So these really extraordinary abilities are given to them for a higher purpose.
Right.
To continue to serve God throughout time.
That's a heavy responsibility.
It is a heavy responsibility.
And one that comes with incredible joy.
Yes.
As described in verse 10.
Okay.
"And for this cause you shall have fullness of joy.
Wow.
And you shall sit down in the kingdom of my Father."
Okay.
Yeah, "your joy shall be full, even as the Father hath given me fullness of joy, and you shall be even as I am, and I am even as the Father, and the Father and I are one."
That is an amazing verse.
It really is.
They are promised a level of joy and unity with God that is really almost impossible for us to comprehend.
It speaks to the profound nature of their change and how close they become to God.
And then Jesus departs.
Yeah.
And things get even more mystical.
Right.
Verses 12 and 13 tell us that the heavens opened.
Okay.
And these 3 disciples were taken up into heaven.
What an incredible image.
It is, they saw and heard things so amazing that they were forbidden to speak of them.
Really?
Verse 14 says, "And it was forbidden them that they should utter, neither was it given unto them power, that they could utter the things which they saw and heard."
Imagine having an experience so profound.
I know.
So beyond human understanding.
Yes.
That you couldn't even describe it.
It would be amazing.
I mean, verses 15 and 16 kind of paint a picture of that.
Okay.
"And whether they were in the body or out of the body, they could not tell.
Uh-huh.
For it did seem unto them like a transfiguration of them, that they were changed from this body of flesh into an immortal state, that they could behold the things of God.
Wow.
But it came to pass that they did again minister upon the face of the earth. Okay. Nevertheless, they did not minister of the things which they had heard and seen, because of the commandment which was given them in heaven."
So this really emphasizes the limitations of human language.
Right.
When it comes to describing divine things.
How do you explain something that's beyond our comprehension?
Exactly a question that's been debated for centuries.
Absolutely.
And even after this experience, these 3 individuals come back to Earth.
Okay.
And they keep doing their ministry.
Right.
They're spreading the gospel.
Wow.
Just like they desired.
Their commitment is remarkable.
It is. And as you can imagine, they were given some pretty miraculous abilities.
Oh, yeah.
To help them with their work. Things get pretty incredible.
They do.
For example, verse 19 says, "And they were cast into prison by them who did not belong to the church.
Okay.
And the prisons could not hold them.
What?
For they were rent in twain."
So prisons literally couldn't hold them.
They could not hold them.
And then we see in verse 20.
Okay.
"And they were cast down into the earth, but they did smite the earth with the word of God, insomuch that by his power they were delivered out of the depths of the earth.
Wow.
And therefore they could not dig pits sufficient to hold them."
They were completely unbound by earthly limitations.
It's like they were defying the laws of physics.
Yeah.
And it continues.
It does.
Verse 21 says they were thrown into a furnace 3 times.
Oh, my goodness.
And didn't get burned.
Not a scratch.
And then we read in verse 22 that they were thrown into a den of wild beasts twice.
Okay.
And instead of being devoured, they did play with the beasts as a child with a suckling lamb and received no harm.
It's like they were on a completely different plane of existence altogether.
Right.
Totally protected by God's power.
Absolutely. And these abilities weren't just for show.
Right.
You know, they helped them in their ministry.
Right.
And really underscored the divine power that accompanied their work.
So they were very instrumental in bringing people to Christ.
Yeah.
Fulfilling the purpose that they'd been given.
But their story doesn't end there.
Okay.
Mormon, the prophet and historian who compiled the Book of Mormon, actually says that he saw these 3 individuals himself.
Really?
And was ministered to by them.
Wait, so Mormon, who lived centuries after all of this, is claiming to have actually interacted with them.
He did.
That's incredible. What did he have to say?
It's pretty amazing.
About them.
He says in verse 26, "But behold, I have seen them, and they have ministered unto me."
So they're not just figures from ancient history.
No.
Mormon is implying that they were still actively ministering even in his time.
Yeah. Were they just out there walking around? You know,
Right.
He actually suggests that you wouldn't necessarily recognize them.
Okay.
Verse 27 states, "And behold, they will be among the Gentiles, and the Gentiles shall know them not."
So they're hidden in plain sight.
That's right. And it continues in verse 28, "They will also be among the Jews, and the Jews shall know them not."
So they're not limited to any one group or place.
Right.
Their ministry seems to be much broader.
Much broader than that. Exactly. Look at verse 29. "And it shall come to pass when the Lord seeth fit in his wisdom, that they shall minister unto all the scattered tribes of Israel, and unto all nations, kindreds, tongues, and people, and shall bring out of them unto Jesus many souls, that their desire may be fulfilled, and also because of the convincing power of God which is in them."
So their mission includes all of the scattered tribes of Israel.
Right.
And even all of the nations of the world.
Yeah.
It's a global ministry.
It is.
That spans centuries.
Spans centuries.
And their description in verse 30 is pretty striking.
It is.
"And they are as the angels of God.
Okay.
And if they shall pray unto the Father in the name of Jesus, they can show themselves unto whatsoever man it seemeth them good."
As the angels of God, that's quite a description.
It is.
What do you think that means about their existence and how they're connected to God?
Well, it suggests a level of being that is far beyond
Right.
our normal understanding.
It does.
They're clearly not just humans
Yeah.
who have avoided death.
Right.
They've undergone a transformation, a degree of holiness and power
Yes.
that sets them apart.
It really makes you wonder what it would be like to encounter them today,
It does.
especially when you consider Mormon's statement that they can choose to reveal themselves if they want to.
And what about the nature of the change they experienced? They didn't die.
Right.
But did they achieve full immortality?
Right.
As we usually understand it.
Good question.
Mormon seems to have grappled with that question himself.
He did, yeah. He says in verses 36 and 37, "And now behold, as I spake concerning those whom the Lord hath chosen, yea, even 3 who are caught up into the heavens, that I knew not whether they were cleansed from mortality to immortality.
Yeah.
But behold, since I wrote, I have inquired of the Lord, and he hath made it manifest unto me that there must needs be a change wrought upon their bodies, or else it needs be that they must taste of death."
So he admits that he wasn't initially sure
Right.
about what happened to their bodies.
Yeah.
But he went straight to the source.
He did.
To the Lord himself for the answer.
Right.
And the Lord confirms that their bodies did change.
Yeah.
And it's that change that kept them from death and suffering.
Uh-huh.
Verse 38 explains, therefore, that they might not taste of death, there was a change wrought upon their bodies, that they might not suffer pain nor sorrow, save it were for the sins of the world.
It's interesting how it specifically mentions that they would still feel sorrow for the sins of the world.
It is.
It suggests that even in their exalted state, they still have empathy for humanity and deeply care about our spiritual well-being.
It speaks to their continued connection to the human experience.
It does.
Even though they exist on a higher spiritual plane.
Right.
So what exactly was this change?
Yeah.
Was it the same as the final change that we believe will happen at the last day?
That's a great question. The answer is not exactly.
Okay.
Verse 39 tells us, now this change was not equal to that which shall take place at the last day, but there was a change wrought upon them insomuch that Satan could have no power over them, that he could not tempt them. And they were sanctified in the flesh, that they were holy, and that the powers of the earth could not hold them.
So it wasn't a complete transformation into a resurrected being.
Yeah.
But it was still a huge change.
Yeah.
It sounds like they became impervious to temptation, completely sanctified, and free from any earthly constraints.
Precisely. It's almost as if they were given a foretaste of immortality, a glimpse of the glory that awaits the righteous at the last day.
It makes you wonder about the implications of different levels of spiritual transformation.
It does.
Is sanctification an ongoing process that can happen in stages, even while we're still alive?
Those are profound questions that this account raises.
It does.
It challenges our traditional understanding of mortality and immortality and suggests that it might be possible to experience different levels of divine power and holiness even during our earthly lives.
And it leaves us with a sense of wonder.
It does.
About the potential for spiritual growth.
Right.
And for humans to achieve a closer connection with God right now in the present.
It's intriguing to think about what this experience might have been like for them and what it means, you know, within the context of God's plan.
Right.
It definitely pushes us to expand our understanding of God's power and the potential for human transformation.
So we know they experienced this incredible change.
Right.
And were actively ministering even centuries later.
Right.
But verse 40 makes it clear that this change wasn't the final one.
Right. Verse 40 says, and in this state they were to remain until the judgment day of Christ, and at that day they were to receive a greater change and were to be received into the kingdom of the Father, to go no more out, but to dwell with God eternally in the heavens.
So even with their amazing transformation, there's an even greater change waiting for them.
At the final judgment.
Where's the final judgment?
It suggests that their journey isn't over.
Right.
There's a higher level of glory and union with God that they haven't reached yet.
Yes.
Something that even their current state doesn't fully encompass.
This really highlights the idea of constant progression.
It does.
Even for those who've reached such incredible spiritual heights, there's always more to learn, more to experience, more to become.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah. It speaks to the infinite nature of God's love and the limitless possibilities for our spiritual growth.
So if these three individuals might still be ministering in the world today, even among us, but unrecognized, what might that look like?
That's a thought-provoking question. The text doesn't give us specifics about how they might be ministering in our time, but there are some clues.
Like what?
Well, think about how Mormon described them.
Okay.
As being as the angels of God able to appear if they choose.
Right.
It suggests that their work could be subtle behind the scenes.
Okay.
Maybe influencing events or people in ways that we don't even see right away.
So not parting the seas or anything like that, but their influence might be felt.
Right.
In less obvious ways.
Exactly. Maybe inspiring acts of kindness, prompting moments of clarity or revelation, or simply offering peace and support when we need it most.
Like unseen guardians helping us through this journey.
Right.
Called life.
It makes you wonder, have you ever felt a nudge in the right direction?
Okay.
A sudden flash of inspiration? Or an unexpected sense of calm during a really tough time?
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, those were hints of their ministry.
Wow.
Touching your life.
That's an incredible thought. I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to those moments from now on.
This whole account really challenges the way we think about mortality and immortality.
It does.
These three disciples didn't die,
Right.
but they also didn't experience that full resurrection
Right.
that's promised at the last day.
Yeah, it's like they were given this preview
Right.
of immortality, a glimpse of what's to come.
So there are different degrees of spiritual transformation.
That's a really fascinating concept. It makes you think about how much we can actually achieve
It does.
in this life.
It certainly does. It encourages us to think bigger, to delve deeper into our faith, and to explore those possibilities of our connection with God.
This conversation has given me such a new perspective on my faith. I don't think I'll ever see the world in quite the same way again.
I understand there's something so powerful about these ancient texts. You know, they challenge us, they inspire us, and they ultimately lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship with God.
That's a great way to put it. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We hope this conversation has sparked some interesting questions and maybe even renewed your sense of awe at those unseen forces that might be at work in our lives. And if you enjoyed this discussion, be sure to subscribe for more conversations just like this one. Until next time.